and worse as time goes on. And just like it's getting worse and worse for the deep state players because they thought they were going to play another hoax on Trump, just like they played the Russian collusion hoax. They thought they were going to play the Epstein hoax and keep Trump very, very busy battling Epstein. And Trump, he turned the tables on them and actually made the D's, made the fake news, made a lot of people beg for every single piece of information instead of dripping this out over time, keeping Trump busy with this, with all these different headlines. Now that it's being all dumped out, people can see everything all at once. And now it's being shown that most of this stuff is made up to try to get Trump. So just because they're releasing it, it doesn't mean it's true. Now, the Justice Department, they released a video. And this video was part of the tranche of information that they dumped. And this is Jeffrey Epstein inside his jail cell trying to kill himself. So the video that was revealed is computer generated. It's timestamped August 10th, 2019 at 4:29 a.m. Epstein was found dead at 6:30 a.m. on August 10th, 2019, which is very, very interesting. So why would they have that? And it's computer generated. Remember, the cameras went down. Were they going to try to use this? This seems very, very odd in what they did here. Now, the other thing that we've come to find out is that when Epstein was on suicide watch, and MT News put this out, it said that his cellmate was trying to kill him. That's interesting. So we have a computer generated video showing Epstein trying to kill himself, which is not real. And that was created before he killed himself or before he was found. So that's kind of interesting. And in this document on Epstein's suicide watch, Epstein said that his cellmate was trying to kill him. So what does this really mean? That's very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is what Marina Fowl put out. On July 23rd, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found unconscious in his cell at MCC, New York, with neck injuries, snoring loudly and unresponsive. Medical staff documented a circular line of erythema at the base of the neck, along with other marks of friction and bruising on his knee. Epstein told prison staff he didn't remember what happened, but was afraid to return to this special housing unit, saying it was where he had gotten marks on his neck and he doesn't know why it happened. He said he had only slept 30 minutes a night for 5 days due to noise and stress. His cellmate, ex-cop Nicholas, had reportedly been harassing him, and Epstein claimed he tried to kill me. Staff noted that Nicholas had been aggressive and was seen mocking Epstein with a string around his neck. Despite these signs, the incident was labeled a possible suicide attempt. So that's very, very interesting. And as you look through these documents, you can see that there's certain information that is real and certain information that is not true. But here's another one from Mario. The Epstein document dump just got a little more interesting. A newly released FBI New York email dated July 7, 2019, with the subject line co-conspirator, reveals agents were actively tracking and attempting to contact 10 individuals connected to Epstein crimes. The email referenced attempts to contact Brunel, modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel, who later died in prison, Maxwell Ghislaine, now serving 20 years, and mentions Ohio contacting Wexner. Les Wexner is the billionaire L Brands founder who gave Epstein his $77 million New York City mansion and served as his primary financial benefactor for years. A separate confidential document from law firm DeVois and Plimpton lists SDNY matters they appeared in, including one entry, Wexner, Epstein investigation, 10 co-conspirators. Only Maxwell was ever charged. The names behind those black boxes are the real story here. So when you're looking at all this, you can see that everything that we were told about Wexner, about Brunel, about all of this is true. And the other thing that we've come to find out that is true is that Ghislaine Maxwell, she bragged about flying a Black Hawk helicopter in Colombia and firing rockets at guerrillas, and pics of her with Colombia's president in 2000, who bought 30 Black Hawk helicopters from Bill Clinton's admin. And we know that Ghislaine Maxwell, she was able to fly a helicopter and also pilot a submarine. So that is very, very interesting. And it's very interesting that she was in Colombia. And this is where it gets really interesting. Mario Nafal once again. The DOJ has released an Austrian passport containing Epstein's photo, but issued under the name Marius Robert Fortelny. The fake passport listed his birthplace as Vienna and his residence as Dammam, Saudi Arabia. Profession listed manager. It's part of a trove of thousands of Epstein-related files released. So once again, we can see Saudi Arabia. We can see that he's using an alias, or maybe that's his real name. No, I think it's an alias. And we could see that it looks like he was most likely working for someone, because why would he have all these different fake passports? Which is very, very interesting. Now, buried in the Epstein file is an email chain that does more damage than any name list. Federal prosecutors inside the U.S. Attorney's Office are trying to get a basic inventory of the electronic evidence seized from Epstein's property: computers, hard drives, disks, and digital nervous system of the operation. And they can't get it. At one point, frustration boils over into honesty. The FBI is completely effing us on this. It's not a tweet. That's an internal DOJ message. Translation: the prosecutors responsible for bringing cases did not have a clear, reliable accounting of the evidence in the FBI's possession. This is FBI 1.0. Not what was seized, not what was imaged, not what was searchable, not what was missing. This isn't incompetence. It's a vacuum. It's structural. Evidence control is power. Whoever controls the data controls the pace, the scope, and the fallout. And remember, Epstein died before trial. Maxwell was prosecuted narrowly. No broader conspiracy case ever materialized. Prediction: this is why. Not because the evidence didn't exist, but because it never cohered into something prosecutors could safely touch without detonating their own case. The scandal isn't just who was on the tapes. It's that even the feds couldn't tell you where the tapes went. That's not a cover-up. That's a movie plot. That's a system quietly eating itself. That's a system that is protecting itself. That's what that really means. They never wanted this information out there. Now, the U.S. Department of Justice put out something on X, and it says the Department of Justice has officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of those documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they have a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. Nevertheless, out of our commitment to the law and transparency, the DOJ is releasing these documents with the legally required protections for the Epstein victims. So what are they talking about? Well, first of all, they put this together before the 2020 elections, which I find very, very interesting, because I do believe if their cheating system wasn't going to work, they were going to produce this fake information, and they were going to try to get him with this to bring down his votes. But they realized they had enough cheating that they were able to override any amount of votes that he got. And again, the country was going through COVID. They had the mail-in ballots, they had the machines, they had the people in place, and they just had backup, just waiting, just in case their cheating system didn't work. But I do believe as they watched the polls, they realized this would be no problem creating the number of votes that they actually need. So what are they talking about? Well, the information that has come out, it shows that Trump actually took Epstein's planes a lot more than it was first reported. Now, these are not Lolita Express. He didn't take him down to Epstein Island. He took him up and down, from Florida to New York and many other places. And basically, these include additional flights. Does it really mean that much? No. At the time, Trump was friendly with Epstein, and if his plane broke down, he used Epstein's plane. Actually, he had his family on the planes many times. So once again, this really doesn't prove anything. But again, what they did was they searched for Trump, and they found this information out. Now, the other piece of information is a document from the 2020 civil lawsuit, Doe versus Indike. And this is part of the released Epstein files by the U.S. Department of Justice. This lawsuit was brought by an anonymous plaintiff, Jane Doe, against the executors of Jeffrey Epstein's estate and Ghislaine Maxwell, seeking compensation for alleged sexual abuse and trafficking by Epstein. Trump's name appears in the document on page 4 of the complaint. The plaintiffs allege that during one of her encounters with Epstein around the 90s, he took her to Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida when she was 14 years old. Epstein reportedly introduced her to Donald Trump, who is the owner of Mar-a-Lago, elbowed him playfully and asked, referring to the girl, "This is a good one, right?" Trump is described as smiling and nodding in agreement, after which they both chuckled. The plaintiff states she felt uncomfortable, but was too young to understand why. Has not accused Trump of any criminal wrongdoing or involvement in Epstein's abuse. It frames this as part of the broader context of her grooming and exploitation by Epstein. And how the name got into the document. Trump's name was included as part of the plaintiff's personal allegations detailing her experience with Epstein. The complaint is a legal filing where the victim recounts specific incidents support her claims against Epstein's estate and associates. It reflects her firsthand account, not a court-verified fact or evidence from other sources. So this is just something that she experienced when she was there. There's no mention of independent corroboration. There's no witnesses. There's no photos. There's no records. There's absolutely nothing. And once again, it shows that Trump did nothing wrong. It was all Epstein. And this is what she remembers when she was 14. So there's no proof of anything. But again, what was the deep state players going to do? She was going to try to use this against Trump. But you have to remember, other accusers said Trump was a perfect gentleman. So once again, all of this is fake, phony, and false. And they were going to try to use this just because Trump's name appeared in this because Epstein visited Mar-a-Lago. Now, there's no pictures of Trump on Epstein Island. There's no pictures of Trump in a swimming pool like Bill Clinton or in a spa. And if you notice, there's very few pictures of Trump. Yes, you see them at Mar-a-Lago because Epstein was there, but very few pictures anywhere else. And once again, their entire case is completely and utterly falling apart around them. And there's going to be plenty other fake letters that are going to be put out there. One, for example, is a letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar. The U.S. Department of Justice put this out. The FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar is fake. The fake letter was received by the jail and flagged for the FBI at the time. The FBI made this conclusion based on the following facts. The writing does not appear to match Jeffrey Epstein's. The letter was postmarked 3 days after Epstein's death out of Northern Virginia when he was jailed in New York. The return address did not list the jail where Epstein was held and did not include his inmate number, which is required for outgoing mail. This fake letter serves as a reminder that just because a document is released by the Department of Justice does not make the allegations or claims within the document factual. Nevertheless, the DOJ will continue to release all materials required by law. So once again, it looks like they were in the process of trying to set up many different individuals put in fake information because they were going to try to get Trump. Now, Trump, he said something very, very interesting on Epstein, and he said everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly. I don't like the pictures of Bill Clinton being shown. I don't like the pictures of other people being shown. Now, of course, how are people going to take this? The people are going to say, well, if Trump doesn't like the pictures of Bill Clinton and he doesn't like the pictures of other people, it must mean he wants everyone to stop, showing these pictures or digging through the pictures or finding out if there are more pictures. And I do believe what he's doing is he's setting up the optics. What are people going to do? They're going to dig and they're going to find more pictures. And who are they going to be about? They're not going to be about Trump. They're going to be about everybody else. And basically, this is trapping the deep state players in all of this, just like he did from the very, very beginning. So think about it. All the fake information that you're seeing now, this is why the deep state players, the fake news, and certain individuals in the Republican Party, this is why they've been pushing all of this very, very hard, because they were going to use this against Trump. And now the tables have been turned. And you could see the foundation is being built of who Jeffrey Epstein really was. People could see the difference between the fake information and the true information. And I do believe this is just going to build upon each other. And I know everyone was hoping that this would show all these people with underage girls and the pedophilia networks, but it's building. And I do believe in the end, a lot of information will come out. And again, you don't want this information to come out too soon. You don't want people hiding. You want people running. Again, Trump just had to stop the entire hoax. And I do believe this is why he did this. I do believe once we start to see the grand jury information, that's going to be the meat and potatoes of what has really been going on. And this is what convicted Jeffrey Epstein. And I do believe since the FBI now and the DOJ is actually investigating all those people that were named, I do believe we're going to find out additional information. But this is a good foundation to explain who Jeffrey Epstein was, who he associated himself with, and actually, it's actually bringing out the pictures of all the co-conspirators in this. And it looks like Trump is not part of it whatsoever. Now, the other thing that is very interesting is that we can see that all the laws that the deep state